Hey everybody, this is Master Cloud, and I am back for another cast of The Lord of the Rings, The Battle for Middle-earth 2, The Rise of the Witch King. Today's matchup is going to be a 1 versus 1 between two players here. Spawning in the upper left-hand side is going to be Andy. He is, of course, spawning as Isengard, and his opponent spawning in the lower right-hand side of the map as Men, Gondor, the Men of the West, whatever you would like to call them. It is going to be Mauher. Now, that name... Number one is hard to pronounce. Number two, I have many things to talk about, so we're going to try and speak really fastly here in the beginning of this cast so I can actually get them all out to you guys. For those of you who don't know, I am commentating now for GameReplays.org. This is a match. This is match B of that tournament that they very recently put on. You can check out my channel for Game 1, which is already up from the tournament. We have moved to a different bracket. For those of you who did watch my previous game, that was Bus Hit versus Megrum. Megrum... Actually, I won't spoil that game for you, but what I will say is that for the series, the winner of the series, I will announce that now here, was indeed Megrum. So he did end up advancing into round 2. Busset did not manage to move forward. So Megrum went ahead, and he was the winner. So he'll be moving forward, and we will go ahead and check out this game and see which of these players will go ahead and join him in the next round. Now, what I'm very interested to see is some of Mauher's play here, as he is one of the chief strategists for GameReplays.org, member of the staff, and one of the best strategists and one of the most knowledgeable players of the game. So I'm very interested to see what he is going to be utilizing here, which tactics, which units, which spells, basically everything. And I'm going to be very carefully wanting to analyze his tactics to go ahead and see what is going to be the best tactics currently that he is aware of in the game, and that he's going to be using it here against Andy. Now, of course, for those of you who didn't catch my last cast, there was a very recent tournament going on, hosted, of course, by GameReplays.org. That is where I am commentating for now. And that tournament had, I believe it was, I can't remember now, 16 players originally, and I think that was cut down slightly because a few players did not end up playing. However, that bracket is in my last cast, and you guys can go there in the beginning to check it out. I will be posting an updated bracket to that soon in some upcoming casts, but for this one I figured we would just only have one player has been eliminated so far, so might as well just jump right into, of course, this next game here. Now, we do actually have the Warg packs out for Isengard. Does have an additional barracks out now as well. Those Uruk crossbowmen are moving up to the top here to go ahead and deal with some of these Gondor soldiers, which appear to be hiding here. We actually have a wall hub being built here by Andy. No doubt that is to block the attack path to the north of his furnace here. And what that's going to do is force these Gondor soldiers to actually move in range of his fortress there in order to actually deal damage to that fortress. And that is exactly what Andy would want to happen. Now, Mauher here pumping out additional units. Looks like more archers. Has a ton of Gondor soldiers on the field. Uruk-hai out for Isengard as well. Now, I should make a slight correction to something I said in the last cast and something that you guys should know about now. The races in this tournament were randomly spawned. However, players were told beforehand what races they were going to be playing at each. It was either each round or each game. So either way, neither of these players necessarily picked these races. They were told, you've been randomly generated, you will be playing men for this match, and you will be playing, of course, Isengard for this match. So players obviously need to know a diverse amount of strategies for each race, know how to handle the units of each race, and can't just focus on spamming their favorite units of their favorite race. Looks like some of these pikemen, those spearmen rather, are going to be surrounded here by most of these Uruk-hai. Several of the archers dying as well. Mauher also moving in from the front with a large group of soldiers. Has 3 or 4 units of soldiers here. 3 Gondor soldiers and a couple of archers in the back to protect. Now the Uruk crossbowmen, far better than the Gondor archers, will begin to pick away at some of these Gondor soldiers from afar. The Uruk showing up as well. Is there additional wargs in production? It looks like the warg riders are actually now out on the way, and that means more spearmen is definitely needed at this point for Mauher. He does have one group down here. Looks like they did manage to take out a group of wargs there. But with those warg riders, once those are out, they will be able to deal significant more damage than just, of course, the regular wargs, which there is one warg pack remaining. But it looks like these warg riders are going to begin to chase down a lot of these units, and Mauher potentially aware of that. Right now, just focusing on taking out this warg lair, as it will grant him some additional gold, especially helpful at these early stages in the game when that gold can make a huge boost by simply giving you funds for 1 or 2 additional units that can really change the tides of war here in the beginning. Now we actually have crows coming up. The warg riders get a slight charge in. Looks like those archers turn back around, begin focusing them down. They won't actually get a lot of damage in there though with those crows overhead. And here comes the second charge attack. The archers have turned back around, but the wargs charge through, deal a significant amount of damage. There's the rally call as the pikemen show up. The warg riders need to turn around. The crossbowmen in the back go up to level 2. Crossbowmen in the front as well, and Mauher is going to be completely surrounded here. All of these units of Gondor getting completely surrounded and destroyed. More archers now showing up. A group of the Gondor knights doing a nice run through on some of those archers right there. The additional units here should be enough to deal significant damage to that group of units. We'll see if he actually has a fountain back up. Looks like not quite yet. Does not have the money at this early stage of the game to go ahead and build that. But these Gondor knights going to have to retreat. And that means the warg riders can come in and deal the extra damage that they need to do. Warg riders getting a little ahead of themselves here, running into the pikemen who do go onto that formation, that alternate formation there. As you can see, they're kind of surrounding themselves, pointing their spears out. And by surrounding, I mean in a circle there, as they do, as they can't initiate that to help protect themselves from being charged by those wargs. So Mauher here using all of the abilities of his units rather than just the stances. More units showing up. This battle continues to wage on. However, it is waging on at the very entrance to Mauher's base here. And this is looking to be a little bit trouble for me. It looks like he has somewhat stabilized here, albeit temporarily. More units are showing up, but it looks like they will start to fall back. Now, might be able to pick off this farm. That'd be a really nice pick off before these units show up. What we don't have yet is any heroes. Neither player at this point going for those heroes, opting more for the unit production route rather than the hero production route. And that is definitely something to take note of, especially at these early stages in the game. For these players, it's going to have to be the additional units that they're going to be entrusting with the defense of their base at this point. Have a large army here crossing the fords in the river. It is spotted by Isengard. These wargs actually retreating, and apparently there's too many archers here to deal with. So Isengard is going to go ahead and pull back Andy, also pulling back a couple of warg riders on the bottom. They are being chased down by Gondor knights. Who's going to win this battle is I'm really interested to see. It looks like the Gondor knights do slightly outmaneuver those wargs. They are up to level 2, so that could be why. In addition, they, I believe, are slightly more expensive. I do want to check on that in just a second. However, now we have to take a look at this battle here raging now on Andy's side of the map, as all of these archers and all of these pikesmen are in the midst of this battle here. A couple of wargs coming in from the top. The archers continue to deal significant damage. The crows overhead are preventing some of that from taking place. The Gondor knights show up, but there's plenty of pikemen in here, and I don't think that's going to be the right call to send those units in right now. But we do have the Hobbit summon. There's the rally call as well, and suddenly this is going to turn heavily in the tides of our Gondor player, as all of these units are going to have to begin to fall back there as the hobbits begin throwing stones. The archers in the back dealing terrible, terrible damage, especially with that rally call down. The crows are gone as well. So this battle is looking significantly more in the favor of Andy, as he has managed to somehow stabilize here and is continuing to reinforce, going with that very basic soldier, spearman, and Gondor archer spam. The cavalry actually surviving that battle, returning to the fountain. That definitely is a an excellent way to preserve units and save yourself some income rather than having to reproduce those units from scratch. That's a great benefit that, of course, Gondor and a couple other races do have. I believe the elves have it as well as the dwarves. Looks like Mauher is going to continue to push forward here. Wants to push basically right down the gut of his opponent, right in his face at this point. A couple of wargs running around the back, but Mauher very carefully, strategically placing up all of his pikemen. Look how well Mauher has controlled his troops here. Very careful to place his pikemen, protecting each of his archers at every possible entrance, keeping his archers in the center there, allowing them to do maximum damage and survive for a maximum period of time. The hobbits as well, all of these wargs are going to get basically decimated. I mean, yeah, they're going to pick up 1/2 unit of archers along the side here, but other than that, I'm not sure they have what they need. I'm not sure that Andy has what he needs to actually deal with this right now. Lurtz is out, but there's no enemy hero for him to focus on, so he's just going to use his Carnage ability and begin fighting face-to-face with some of these basic pikemen. Here comes a Rohirrim summon, it sounds like, as Mauher has really started to take control of this game, destroying so many of the enemy structures, has given him access to more and more power points, and at this point it is just spiraling out of control. Andy getting a little bit desperate here, throwing up a arrow tower expansion to try and help defend back at his base. Lurtz getting a little too overeager, goes into those pikemen, will grab a level, but at the same time will fall, and these pikemen can now begin focusing down this fortress if they so choose, but for now it looks like he's going to just focus down all of these buildings, and I think at this point Mauher has a commanding lead in this battle, as he's just gone with a very basic soldier, archer, Rohan, spearman strategy here. I mean, yes, he had the 1 unit of horsemen out to deal with some of the archers, but other than that, Mauher has taken a commanding lead in this game, and I'm not sure that there's anything at this point that Andy can do. In fact, he has an additional hero. He's going for those heroes now in an attempt to deal with all of the very basic units out that are out for Mauher. Couple of units out here. The warg riders dealing an okay amount of damage to some of these straggling units. A group of archers being thrown away. I think that's a little bit of a mistake there. They will run up and try and save this farm, but at this point Andy is making minimal amounts of resources. This Gondor soldier needs to get taken out. We do have a summon here. Wildman of Dunlin will be summoned right on top of all these units, and of course that is not going to be good for the Gondor players' archers, as they will die very quickly to these wildmen. Looks like a group of spearmen, or 3 groups of spearmen, really. I mean, they're all, bloody and half units here. Actually, these aren't even half. These are like 1/10 units. But nevertheless, they will survive and regen. That'll be a great aid to Mauher's resource bank if he can actually end up saving all 3 of those units. Meanwhile, taking place across the map, Lurtz leading those wildmen now to Mauher's base. He should predictably cancel this farm before they can begin stealing resources. Yes, he will go ahead and cancel that. Actually, these wildmen may not steal. No, they do have the steal resource ability. It's just the actually, they do all steal resources, so I guess it just wasn't showing up there right away because they didn't get enough swings in. Now we actually have Gandalf out for Mauher. This is a really interesting hero choice, and I wonder why he's done this. Finally, he actually has leveled up that barracks, going for those Gondor Tower guards. An excellent choice, as they do provide some additional damage as well as additional health over those basic Rohan spearmen. Lurtz leading this group, continuing on. There's the resources being stolen. Lurtz only, or excuse me, Wormtongue, not Lurtz. Wormtongue only up to level 1. There's a devastation ability by Isengard to grab some additional resources. And with that, it looks like this building might actually fall. Wormtongue going to grab an additional level. Is Lurtz back out on the field? Yes, he is. And of course, he is level 4 now. Gandalf leading a group of Gondor Tower guards across the river, but he's going to be in for a rude surprise. If Lurtz spots him, that is going to be game over for Gandalf. I'm not sure he can actually survive an encounter with Lurtz at this early stage in the game, especially with only a couple units of spearmen here. Is the cripple shot going to go down? There it goes down. Lurtz should now pull out his sword and use that Carnage ability. We'll see if Andy goes ahead and uses that. He's going to use his spearman in an attempt to protect him, although he throws down the rally call as soon as Lurtz goes in close. There's the heal. Lurtz taking a ton of damage, and Gandalf amazingly survives somehow Mauher taking great pains to protect his hero here. Gandalf has not been able to do any damage yet, and will it all be in vain is the question I'm asking myself right now, as Gandalf is still taking some decent damage from those archers in the back. But I think with this Hobbit summon, Gandalf should be okay. There is going to be the blast as those pikemen go flying. However, Lurtz is able to pick off Gandalf from afar, grabs the level, and I'm really not sure if that was worth it to go ahead and spend all of both of those spells as well as the resources to purchase Gandalf there and then lose him after basically only one Wizard Blast. I think he might have picked up a level from that, but even so, that's an expensive investment, as Gandalf is no cheap wizard to throw out on the field. Now, a couple of these units did survive, as well as the summon hobbits, and it will be enough to slightly push back the forces of Isengard here. Lurtz, of course, doing a lot of damage now that he is at level 5, and he can, of course, use that bow and arrow to launch those arrows from afar, so these Gondor Tower Guards have no hope of actually taking him out at this point. He actually pulls out his sword here. I'm really not sure that's the right idea, especially with these hobbits still in here. They can deal a lot of damage to heroes very, very quickly. Lurtz using his headbutt ability there. It looks like the hobbits will fall, and for now, our Isengard player Andy has stabilized. However, he has a lot to think about as forces are moving in from the bottom and from the top. Looks like this cave troll going to go down. Will lose a... No, will not lose, but one of the pikemen there just gets thrown as the troll is flailing around. We'll be able to take out this troll cage layer, though, and of course that will grant him some additional resources. Let's see how much he actually picks up there from those. About 300 worth of resources, give or take. So that's going to be a nice additional unit that he can pump out there. Let's actually go ahead and take a look at some of the power paths these players have gone down. Our Isengard player has 16 power points actually saved up at this point. Gone for the Creebane as well as the War Chant. Of course, we've seen the Wildman of Dunland, and that Devastation ability used to grab those extra resources has been quite handy, especially because Isengard at this point does not have very many farms. Meanwhile, our Gondor player, Mauher, has gone for Rally Call Heal. We saw both of those used around Gandalf earlier. The Hobbits we've seen several times, and of course the Rohan allies, the Spearmen there that can be summoned. Saruman now out for our Isengard players. He is much more focused on these heroes than Mauher is, and that Wizard Blast actually grabs him 2 levels there. That's going to be a great pickup by Saruman, and throws down the Fireball on the archers as well. Andy here definitely fighting back with these heroes and dealing a significant amount of damage. Saruman taking a little bit of damage, does not want to fight those pikemen so close up, but I think he has enough units in the back, in the rear here to actually back him up, and he should be okay and survive just fine. Back at the base of Mauher, several more units being pumped out. Additional Gondor Tower Guards are coming. More Athelian Rangers as well. What we don't see, a couple of Rohirrim as well, what we don't see is additional heroes. It looks like after that loss of Gandalf, Mauher has seriously reconsidered his concept to get out additional heroes, and has decided to instead go for those regular units. I guess these are more upgraded units, although he is still pumping out Gondor soldiers, which I'm a little surprised to see at this point. It could be to deal with some of the enemy units, or even to be thrown away as basically as throwaway units, but as units to throw into the meat grinder to allow his more powerful units to survive longer in the back. And he wants to do that as a cheap alternative to simply producing more producing more spearmen. I was trying to think there what he could potentially produce there that is more expensive than those very basic Gondor soldiers. Now it looks like the ring actually is over here next to the fortress. That may or may not come into play later in the game. There is going to be a battle up here near Andy's base. Saruman beginning to deal with a lot of these units. Lurtz up to level 7 at this point. Saruman up to level 4. And suddenly these heroes are looking to be incredibly troublesome for Mauher to deal with. Lurtz at level 7 as well. A unit of archers surviving in all of this, as well as the War Riders. And Mauher is going to have to fall back here. Mauher actually paying absolutely no attention to the ring at this point, despite the fact that it is in the game and it is usable should a player decide to grab it. He's basically decided at this point in the game it's just not even worth his time to send a unit over there to grab it. Actually could use this builder to even pick it up and return it to the base. But at this point, Mauher deciding against it. His APM actions per minute is better focused elsewhere, commanding his troops. And once again, sending this huge group of units out across the map. What is he in terms of power points? He's at 23. As soon as he gets that level 25, we'll see if he decides to go for Earthquake or Army of the Dead. I'm not quite sure how the power tree is set up in 2.02, but both of those are the level 25 power, so we'll see if he decides to go for what I'm going to predict right now, in fact, is that he's going to go for Army of the Dead, of course, to deal with these powerful hero units that are now in the field. And we actually have Aimer out. This is an interesting choice, possibly for the Outlaw leadership, allowing him to steal resources from his opponent once up to level 4. Could be for the added Horse Lord ability as well, of course, the allied cavalry, as there is a ton of Rohirrim now in the field. There's the Watcher from our Isengard player, but these horsemen are now moving in towards the fortress, and if he can deal enough damage here, he's going to be able to summon the Army of the Dead. He's almost there. He's at level 24. The heroes now showing up, but Saruman might be able to get a blast in on a decent amount of these Rohirrim. There's level 25. Where's the summon of the Army of the Dead to deal with these heroes? Army of the Dead has been purchased, and there goes down the summon surrounding the fortress here. And suddenly, our Isengard player is in a ton of trouble, although Saruman was able to deal a significant amount of damage to those Rohirrim, and I'm not sure there's actually enough here left to actually deal the necessary damage to take down this fortress. I guess we'll find that out shortly. The heroes of Isengard here being split up incredibly fast. Lurtz trying to run away to the top. The Army of the Dead will begin to chase him down. Lurtz is taking a ton of damage. Wormtongue, meanwhile, survives, and it looks like the Army of the Dead will not manage to take him out, and the fortress going down to about 1/3 health, but Lurtz is going to survive. He can use that assassinate ability and does manage to get it off there on Aimer, and he will start to take tons of poison damage here over time. Mauher realizing it now, but actually has he taken too much damage from that poison, and he will continue to slowly fade away here as that continues to drain his health, and Aimer will indeed die from that poison. Meanwhile, a counterattack is being made. The fortress still stands here, and the troops of Isengard still are surrounding the map, although there is a unit of Coda here. This unit of Coda could easily take down the fortress if they can get in range here. But right now, Mauher focusing on protecting his own buildings, deciding that a slower attack strategy is going to be less reckless, although now perhaps changing his mind, sending the knights to the west here. Will be able to pick up potentially a builder, potentially Wormtongue. That'd be a nice pickup, but these pikemen are going to prevent him from actually going down, and this unit of Coda needs to be recalled immediately, as he does not want to lose those. Again, those are very expensive, costing 1,200 for just a single unit of 5. A couple of wild men here are summoned, going to get taken out by the Coda here. They can actually easily engage this, and I believe win. The Warg Riders running around, dealing some damage to some farms. More Warg Riders along the north side as well. And actually, our Rohan, or our Gondor player here, seeming to be almost in a little bit of trouble at this point. I mean, he's dealt a significant blow to the fortress of Isengard, but Isengard has a ton of troops out at this point, and it's completely surrounding the map, has dealt a ton of damage to his infrastructure here. He has some mines remaining, a couple of farms here and there, and they should be enough to allow him to continue to produce units at a steady rate. Many of them are level 3 farms, so those of course do add grant much more additional income than just a regular farm. And this unit of Coda, being very poorly managed here, is going to lose 4 of them. Might save the 5th. Does manage to get that out, so Mauher at the last second is going to realize that, and pulling those back here. Actually has 2 units out now, and would love to see him just run along the top side and focus down this fortress. Of course, remember, there is no building heal for Isengard, so there is no way he can repair this fortress other than by allowing it to slowly repair itself. After a while, a builder will come out and begin to repair that fortress, but that is going to be a little while yet, and that is going to be slow repairs at most. Gandalf here showing up once again with 2 units of Gondor Tower Guards, but there is going to be a mind control, the Corrode Allegiance, as he takes over Gandalf for himself and uses Gandalf to basically kill his own units here. all of these pikemen are going to die. The furnace will survive, and Gandor is going to become, or excuse me, Gandalf is going to be completely surrounded at the end of this by 3 units of pikemen. As you can see, Andy pulling Gandalf into the corner here so that he is basically trapped. Tom Bombadil shows up, but it's not going to be enough, as Gandalf is going to fall once again. Andy losing an incredibly expensive hero for very little damage dealt. In fact, it was almost negative damage dealt. Sure, he kills 1 unit there, but he lost 2 of his own units. Tom Bombadil continuing to punch away at Lurtz here. I don't think that's going to be sufficient to actually to kill him, though, as Tom Bombadil does not do a lot of specific one unit damage. These Coda now moving to the north, going to take out some of those summoned, or excuse me, built wildmen. It looks like he does have a clan steading now on the map, or actually he might actually have taken over. Yes, that's exactly what he's done. He's gone ahead and taken over the inn, so that's where he is producing those units from. Now all of Mauher's troops moving along the south side here, deciding to launch a battle from the southern front. The forces of Andy are concentrated themselves along the south side as well. And at this point, AM are picking up an additional level there. He's going to go up to level 4. And this cavalry is starting to look incredibly scary. They need to focus down this fortress absolutely right away. What are we looking at in terms of spells? Nothing quite yet for either of these players. So no spells going to be coming out at this exact moment, as most of them are still on cooldown. In terms of oops, excuse me, as I click or incorrectly click on the map there. And what are we looking at in terms of resources? Andy sitting at about 2k, Mauher at about 3.5k. So both of these players very healthy in terms of resources. What I'd like to see is some fire archers here from Mauher. Has he upgraded his barracks? Could use that extra money right now to go ahead and begin upgrading those barracks. Is going to instead decide to go for a couple of the furnaces here of Andy. The troop around the north side going to not get this furnace, as these pikemen completely surround them. The fortress beginning to heal itself as well. And these troops now will begin to focus on some of these units to the south. Actually going to the north, I think that's a little bit of a misclick there. The unit of Kodo will be chased away, not before they pick up an additional furnace. The units to the south have been upgraded to the torches. That's going to be a nice upgrade for these wildmen, as they can almost deal with these spearmen. Gondor Tower Spearmen actually having a lot of trouble here with these Wildmen. I think this Wildmen will actually win this battle. That's going to be a great pickup, as another unit of Mauhers has gone ahead and fallen. But units of Gondor soldiers running around here, they are really not going to pose a threat whatsoever. These heroes of Isengard proving to be incredibly efficient, as well as all of these troops now. I mean, we have the Coda out, which are going to be the critical unit here, I think. In the end, once again, this match is shaping up a little bit like our previous match, where we have several units of Coda running around extremely high level, level 4 and level 6, basically unstoppable in terms of not being catchable. Although this unit runs right into the enemy there, Lurt's going to grab a level as he takes one of them out. A summon goes down from the archers here. I think that was a little close to the enemy, but will still deal a significant amount of damage. Would like to see the Coda sent in, and we now have 3 units of Coda. Although they have a lot of problems, as they do have troops along the south side here, led by Lurtz, as well as several units from the front side as well. Lurtz returning to the battle. Does he have the shot available? No, he's actually in Carnage mode, so he cannot switch to his bow right now. So Aemir should survive this battle, theoretically, unless he charges right into a bunch of pikemen and takes massive damage to the face. Will actually still survive those pikemen attempting to chase down the Gondor Knights instead. Meanwhile, in the center of the map, looks like a couple of hobbits here chasing down all of these units. Wormtongue actually falling back. I'm not sure why. It looks like that Isengard actually has enough units here to go ahead and defeat these defeat these small kind of separated forces here. Gandalf once again being placed back on the field. No doubt Gandalf being summoned here so that he can get up to those more powerful levels. Level 7 is Starry Light, as well, of course, the famed Word of Power at level 10. Aragorn now finally out as well, and we do have Faramir out also. So finally, Mauher deciding, you know what, I should go for those more heavier damage dealing single hero units. The only problem is he's waited so late in the game that they're all at level 1 and are going to be doing very small amounts of damage to the enemy. Wormtongue can easily take out any of these heroes with that poison strike ability. The backstab is what it's technically called. But we actually have a control here by Saruman being cast, or by Wormtongue rather, on Aragorn. We do have the Watcher coming down as well on top of the Knights. The archers in the back here, are they going to be able to deal enough damage? I don't think so. Aragorn still is on the side of Isengard at this point. Wormtongue pushing forward, Aragorn being forgotten. Gandalf now being chased down only up to level 3. Lurtz should be able to stun him if he is in the battle. Aragorn switches back to that other level, although Gandalf gets off a great hit. Lurtz nowhere to see. There's Lurtz, finally shows up, is going to throw down the stun, and Gandalf is basically finished at this point. The Watcher does time out a couple of those, or actually a decent amount of these Knights do survive. We'll be able to take out this level 3 farm. That's going to be a wonderful pickoff. We do have fire arrows now being upgraded for the fortress though, as it does continue to heal, now past half health. The units to the north being taken out as well. And Isengard, Andy here, able to stabilize somewhat, holding off that attack quite decisively and pushing back several of these units. And this battle is going to continue, even though it looked like it might end there a couple of times. Andy able to hold on, and these Knights not able to do the necessary damage. There's the fireball, does miss as those Knights are too fast and actually outrun it. But Andy launching a counterattack of his own, several units of pikemen, as well as a group of wildmen roaming the map up here as well as below. The group of warg riders now moving in as well, might be able to pick off some of these units. Faramir actually retreated from that previous battle, or did he actually die is a better question, as I don't see him on the map, and I think purchasing those hero units so late in the game might have been a little bit of a mistake by Mauher, as they do die incredibly quickly now. As we can see, Gandalf dying 3 times. Aragorn, I don't even know if he got up to level 2. Lurtz now up to level 9. Wormtongue probably level 10. Yes, he is. And Saruman sitting at a solid 5 and 7 ace at this point. Will be able to use Thunderbolt as soon as he grabs a little bit of additional experience, and then of course his final ability, the Wormtongue ability, needs to be at level 10 to use that though. Small group moving across the fort here in the center will begin to apply pressure once again to Mauher. He has dealt with the troops to the north, but has units basically spread out all over the map. Several battles going on here. Saruman deciding to use potentially Fireball here, as it is lit up and glowing, as that was no doubt casted but interrupted by Tom Bombadil. There goes the Fireball finally getting casted there. That is a really cool graphic going on around here, the Fireball spell here. A couple units of additional pikemen do show up. Tom Bombadil going to be putting a stop in some of that. The Army of the Dead summon goes down. Lurtz and Saruman are finished, as well as all of these pikemen. Looks like this will, the bottom side will go to Gondor for now. Lurtz actually escaping behind the building over here. Hasn't been spotted. The Army of the Dead needs to turn back around and focus on taking him out. The barracks here will go down, as well as the farm, though Lurtz does end up falling, as well as, of course, Saruman. And suddenly Mauher looking to be in a little bit of a dominant position. Without those heroes on the field, Isengard doesn't have that many powerful units actually out compared to our Gondor player. The archers in the back here dealing significant damage while that farm does fall. We actually have a Summon Dragon ability going down though, as this is quite unexpected. There is no other units here to stop this, and it is going to begin focusing down this barracks. This barracks will fall very quickly. That was a level 2 or 3 barracks. So that's going to be a very nice pickup. The Dragon taking out the pool as well in one shot, deals additional damage to the secondary barracks, and that's going to fall as well. The level 3 farm as well as the level 2 archery here going to be taking a lot of damage. Both of those will fall. Now Wildman summoned as well, and Andy making a huge play here at the fortress of Mauher, as these units continue to push forward and destroy basically everything in sight here. He's going to lose his entire base to all of these units. These Wildmen not going down fast enough And I think they will be able to actually take this out. The dragon will survive and can begin working down the fortress. But at this point, Mauher has lost a ton of his base, and now basically only has the units remaining to him on the field. Needs to get some additional units up very quickly. This fortress here actually frozen in time temporarily, will not allow me to click on it, so we can't actually see the health, which should be at probably back to full health at this point in the game. And with a couple units back out on the field, Wormtongue level 10 might be able to hold, as all of Mauher's forces are completely spread out across the map. And archery range has been rebuilt. What are we looking at in terms of money here? For Andy's looking at about 500. Mauher actually at 3.3k, so he has plenty of money. The money isn't the problem right now. Might think about building it, or actually he has a second builder still, so definitely needs to begin rebuilding some of his infrastructure here, immediately leveling up his archery range, as he believes he does have enough units remaining on the field at this point. Needs to actually start controlling some of these units though, as they are standing around a little bit here. Basically what he's working on right now is these coda and taking out some of the furnaces here of Andy. So Andy looking to be a little bit in trouble in terms of income at this point. I mean, he has, what, one furnace on the field? I mean, this is definitely not sufficient to win a long-term game against a player like Mauher. Even using those spells to decimate the fortress, to decimate the base here of Mauher, it's just not going to be enough. He has no way to deal with the actual units on the field. He doesn't have the powerful units out that he needs, and he doesn't have the income that he needs in order to get them out. I mean, he hasn't had a chance to build a siege works this entire game. He doesn't have an armory out. There's no way he can upgrade his troops, and he's basically just holding on by the skin of his teeth in terms of some of the heroes he's had out. I mean, Saruman back out on the field, so this is going to be a step in the right direction, but he's had to save up for quite a while just to get him out. And probably once again now saving up for Lurtz as well. The lightning strike goes down there though, and that will immediately kill all of those coda. That's a great ability by Saruman. A ton of damage there immediately, and that is one way to put a halt in those coda. Saruman here doing tons of damage. Several units falling almost instantly to him. Wormtongue still in the middle of the battle. Lurtz back out now as well, and I think at this point he needs to think about returning to building some more additional farms around the map. He does have 2 now, as that may be sufficient, albeit temporarily, to pump out some units, finally throwing down another furnace here. But with that Hobbit summon, as well as the Dunedain Ranger summon, all of the basic units have fallen, and that leaves only the hero units really left out on the field here for Andy, for Mauher to deal with. We are going to be seeing a slight push forward here. There's the Cloud Break. Will temporarily stun some of these units, as these Gondor Knights, or excuse me, Gondor Tower Guards attempting to take down this Uruk Pit, but they really aren't dealing enough damage. The Dunedain Rangers just kind of standing around, not that they do that much damage to this building anyways, but instead focusing down some of the wargs here. That's going to be the right choice, definitely. There's the arrow drop and some of the wargs, as they will end up dying, but Saruman, his powers have recharged. He can now begin attacking once again. Lurtz in the back, and this entire unit, this entire legion of troops here, going to be completely decimated by the heroes of Isengard. And Isengard heroes looking incredibly powerful in this game. Now all 3 of them up to level 10. Actually, Saruman only at level 7, almost 8. Might actually get it here with the last couple of hits. So close, but will actually go up to level 8. So Saruman there now up to level 8, 2 level 10s, 1 level 8, and the heroes here are going to be the thorn in the side of Mauher. If he can just use that Army of the Dead to kill all 3 of them, about halfway recharged at this point, actually up to level 31 power point, can definitely go for that additional earthquake ability. Aragorn now back out on the field at this point. But once again, Aragorn only level 1 is going to be taking incredible amounts of damage. Here comes a major attack from Mauher. Does not yet have those fire arrows though, and that is of course what he really needs to start dealing significant damage to not just the units of Andy, but more importantly, the structures of Andy. He He needs to be able to take out these unit production facilities and then, of course, deal damage to the fortress from afar rather than getting in close. And there's the spell that we've been waiting for. Earthquake goes down. The fortress is completely vulnerable, as well as both of the the production facilities. However, the Watcher goes down, and that's going to completely decimate the force that Mauher was planning to use to finish off the fortress. This is, of course, going to give the Isengard player time to rebuild and resupply. He has enough troops now on the field. I don't really know why he took over Aragorn. I think that was a little bit of a mistake, potentially to use his healing ability there. But probably would have preferred to just see him die rather than survive a little bit longer, as there is no more units for him to really fight. Wormtongue stabs this guy right in the back as he will go ahead and fall. Amber now back out on the field with a couple of horseman troops. Needs to focus down that fortress, just doesn't have the time right now, and or the forces really to do it. More forces have been pumped out. Some additional barracks being built to the north. Did not realize that this was happening, and those are all level 3. Most importantly, though, I think he needs the fire arrows, as that is going to be what could potentially end this game, as that fortress will fall very quickly to those. And there's no more, I guess there's 1 unit of Warg Riders, but other than that, actually 2 units. So archers, more or less, would be effective right now. If he could protect them like he was doing before, they're definitely going to be effective against the fortress, as well as the enemy heroes. Lurts can pick off archers decently well. However, it would, in my opinion at least, would be the right choice to move forward here. Amber gets stunned, is going to fall to these pikemen. Lurts and Wormtongue in there as well. Saruman now moving to the south will pick up a nice juicy unit of archers if he spots them here. Looks like he's attempting to chase down Aragorn at this point. Most likely the fireball does go down. The wargs might be able to chase him down. Is going to start to burn from that fire, but throws down the heel. And Wormtongue now running farther forward, but I think he might escape here. Farmir out almost level 2, needs to pick up a single kill to go up to level 2, does manage to do it. But Farmir now in the battle himself. Aragorn up to level 2, though, that's going to be a great pickup, as Aragorn does gain that Blade Master 100% damage and armor, just what Mauher was hoping for. Faramir gets stabbed by Wormtongue there, though, and immediately falls. There's the lightning bolt from Saruman, and those units die very quickly. However, a unit of Kodar is out. They could chase down some of these heroes if they so chose, but I think there might be enough damage there that they might not be efficient at that. However, additional units coming from the back. I don't know how he got those units behind the backside, but however it was, Saruman going to go down very quickly here to these Kodar. They deal incredible amounts of damage. Saruman, he has the fireball ability up, but he needs to use it, but will not get it off. The Kodar grab an additional level. We'll focus down Lurts now, or Wormtongue as well, and now we'll focus down Lurts. This unit of Kodar being incredibly effective, and all of a sudden, there is a ton, Andy is in a ton of trouble here, as he's just lost all 3 of his expensive heroes. Tons of troops are moving in from the north. These barracks continuing to pump out units. None queued up at the moment, but that's probably because he has more Kodar queued up. Actually, nothing queued up at this time. Andy just sort of biding his time, or Mauher biding his time, and Andy realizes it. After having lost all of those units and having no income, he is going to surrender, and Mauher actually takes that game in a very convincing fashion. It was those Kodar at that last minute that decimated all 3 of Andy's heroes and just made it completely impossible, I think, for Andy to come back. So I think a good GG out there. I'm not sure he had a chance at that point to come back, especially without any defense around his fortress and basically no income. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Guys, I sure do appreciate it, and it does help my channel grow, as well as helps get out additional videos for you guys in the future. I hope you guys are enjoying this tournament. Again, this tournament is a tournament put on by GameReplays.org, a site that I've recently joined as a commentator. And definitely you guys can check that out, as well as stay tuned to my channel for more of the tournament games, as we will continue to follow these players throughout the tournament. Master Cloud signing out.